Oh, Do You Have Time by Mary Oliver. Oh, do you have time to linger for just a little while out of your busy and very important day for the goldfinches that have gathered in a field of thistles, for a musical battle to see who can sing the highest note or the lowest, or the most expressive of mirth, or the most tender? Their strong, blunt beaks drink the air, and as they strive melodiously, not for your sake and not for mine, and not for the sake of winning, but for the sheer delight and gratitude. Believe us, they say, it is a serious thing just to be alive on this fresh morning in the broken world. I beg of you, do not walk by without pausing to attend this rather ridiculous performance. It could mean something. It could mean everything. It could be what Rilke meant when he wrote, "You must change your life." Come, let us worship together. Olga will light our chalice this morning.
Still There's Hope by Nadine McSpadden. During our darkest moments, still there is hope. When facing our biggest challenges, still there is hope. When all we can do is put one foot in front of the other, still there is hope. When we cannot find the way out, still there is hope. When all we can do to help is hold someone's hand and as they cry, still there is hope. We are the hope for ourselves and for one another. Always there is hope.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us joy. Flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision.
Thank you, Olga. Now we'll have the story for the generations. Our story this morning is Stone Soup. And you know, stories are wonderful things. A good story never grows old because it contains within it kernels of truth that become more meaningful as we grow and change and experience more of life. Revisiting an old story can bring new insights that help us understand our lives in new ways. And so this morning we're going to revisit the story, the Eastern European folk story of Stone Soup. There are many variations, but the story usually goes something like this. A kindly old stranger was walking through the land when she came upon a village. As she entered, the villagers looked upon her with sympathy, as she seemed very old and frail. But as people often do with strangers, they backed up a step. The old woman smiled and asked, "Why are you all so frightened? I am a simple traveler, looking for a soft place to stay for the night and a warm place for a meal." "Oh, there's not a bite to eat in the whole province," she was told. "We are weak and our children are starving. Better keep moving on." "Oh, I have everything I need," she said. "In fact, I was thinking of making some stone soup to share with all of you." She pulled an iron cauldron from her cloak and filled it with water and began to build a fire under it. And then with great ceremony, she drew an ordinary looking stone from her bag and dropped it into the water. By now, hearing the rumor of food, most of the villagers had come out of their homes, or they watched from their windows. As the stranger sniffed the broth and licked her lips in anticipation, hunger began to overcome their fear. "Ah," said the stranger to herself rather loudly, "I do like a tasty stone soup. Of course, stone soup with cabbage, that's hard to beat." Soon a villager approached hesitantly, holding a small cabbage he'd retrieved from its hiding place, and added it to the pot. "Wonderful!" cried the stranger. "You know, once I had a stone soup with cabbage and a bit of salt beef as well, and it was fit for a king." The village butcher managed to find some salt beef. And so it went. One villager found a couple of old potatoes, another some onions, carrots, mushrooms. Someone pulled out a loaf of bread, and so on until there was indeed a delicious meal for everyone in the village to share. They all had a wonderful meal together, the best they had enjoyed in weeks, and they talked and told stories until late in the evening. The village elder offered the stranger a place to sleep for the night. The next morning, as the old woman thanked him and prepared to take her leave, the elder said, "You know, that stone is remarkable. I haven't seen that much neighborliness in a long, long time. I'll give you a great deal of money for your magic stone." But the old woman refused to sell it and went on her way. As she left the village, the stranger came upon a group of village children standing near the road. She gave the bag containing the stone to the youngest child, whispering to the group, "The magic is not in the stone. The magic is in your hearts when you remember that you are stronger together." And so this morning for our hymn, let us sing number 318, "We Would Be One." The words will be up on your slides. Olga, take it away.
Cute.
To the sky.
Thank you. Lift up something about the riots in Minneapolis. Our Christian siblings in the world today are celebrating Pentecost. And for those who don't know that, the Spirit came down upon the gathered Christians and as in the form of a fire and rested on each of them. The scripture is Acts 2, verse 3. Divided tongues as of fire appeared among them, and a tongue rested on each of them. And so a UU colleague whose name I neglected to get wrote and gave permission to share this poem called Riot. Who set these streets on fire? It blew up from the embers of the coals in the courtyard where empire warmed itself, while it made its false accusations. It smoldered in our midst until we could deny him no more. It blazed with righteous indignation until tongues of flame danced above our heads. And ash filled the sky, and tears filled our eyes. We gasped in like a bellows, blew out with a bellow, with a rushing wind, giving voice to the rage in an almighty babble. And we took to the streets as an ungoverned rabble, and we screamed, "Say his name," in the face of the devil, with a rage that was matched to the scope of the evil of an empire that kills with a smirk and a shrug, takes an innocent life, and then calls him a thug. And we took to the streets in the spirit of love. Pentecost is a riot. Beloveds, get ready. The flames are licking at the door. In our hearts and minds in a common gratitude for these sacred moments that we spend together. Grateful for the love and care of this community, grieving and concerned together. May our hearts and hands bless those who grieve and worry and struggle. Let's sing together, Draw the Circle Wide. I have a reading this morning. It's called Feeding Ourselves and Each Other by Liz James, a UU minister. It's a reflection on the stone soup story. She says, I'm not sure those townspeople were being selfish. You probably remember how the story goes. The old woman comes and asks for ingredients to make food. Everyone says, oh, I really don't have anything. And so she puts a stone in a boiling pot of water and says, oh, I wish I had a little this, I wish I had a little that. People brought it. People found a little bit of this and a little bit of that until a glorious soup was made. And she says, we're taught that this tale is about tricking a meal out of selfish people. But I don't really think that's what happened. I mean, if somebody had asked me if I had a meal to share with them and I only had a small cabbage or a carrot, I wouldn't say that I could help. I would say I couldn't help. I wouldn't be lying when I said I had nothing to give. I'd just be wrong. When we say that there's nothing we can do, we're not lying. That phone call we might make, the $5 we might donate, that quick email of encouragement we might send, these things feel so small that we think that they're the same as having nothing to offer. The stone soup story isn't about selfish people. It's about people who thought they were powerless. It's about people learning that they had something to offer that would feed, it's about people learning that they have something to offer that would feed themselves and each other. Our anthem this morning is recorded by Olga. From You I Receive.
Pam.
Yes, the video is also from Pam. She puts the beautiful images in these musical videos. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Olga. This is an interesting and in some ways difficult day. We have joys. We have this beautiful summer day. We had a fantastic auction last night that was definitely a community building event. And we have many worries and tragedies happening around us as well. And so today we're talking about, are we powerless? Or do we each have a little something that we can put in that stew pot? Frank A. Clark said, everyone is trying to accomplish something big, not realizing that life is made up of little things. So I'm going to start out with a personal story. Some of you might not have known that for the past 4 years, you have only had a partial minister. Actually, I'm only partially kidding about that. I was recently granted full fellowship as a Unitarian Universalist minister. I only graduated from seminary and appeared for my interview before the Ministerial Fellowship Committee in 2015. The same year I began to search for a church to settle down with and serve as minister. And as you know, I found you. And you found me. At the time, I was granted preliminary fellowship as a UU minister. Preliminary. And so since that time, I've been working hard to fulfill the requirements for full fellowship. And I'm thrilled now to be a real minister. Among other things, it means that I can mentor other ministers, including perhaps sometime a student minister to work with us here at First Parish. This congregation has a long history of mentoring ministers in formation, and I'd love to carry on that work if we can. But my friends, I didn't get here alone. This is equally the work of this congregation. You may not have been aware that you were helping me become a full minister. The board is well aware. They put in so many hours and extra meetings doing the three annual evaluations that are required on 17 different parameters of ministry. They're huge. Those evaluations were required and big and important. But I want to tell you that the really valuable stuff in my learning and growing process has been all the little things. And each one of you has contributed to that. It's the little things added up over the months and years that got us to this point. A smile, a nod, a word of encouragement, a question, an objection, calling me on my stuff. Oh yes, I have stuff. And thank goodness for people brave enough to help me see it. An admonishment to step back and delegate. A challenge to step up and do better. A request for help or for conversation. An idea, a meal, an offer of time, a bit of information, honest feedback. Each of these little things have added up to First Parish now having a really, truly full minister. Go us! None of us gets where we are alone. None of us survives on our own. This time of crisis has caused a lot of introspection and questioning of priorities. And I've come to the conclusion that I have three main responsibilities in the world: to survive and thrive as best I can, to help others survive and thrive, and to work for a better world. And that it's the little things I do that are the most important. Lately, I've really been struggling with depression and the trauma shock of all that's going on. I hear that's going around. It's hard to find the energy some days to do anything or even care if I do anything. I'm on an antidepressant and it is helping, but many days are difficult still. So honestly, right now, it's often only little things that I can even handle. It's comforting to remember that these little things, any little thing I do that helps me or others or the world survive and thrive, is important. Even in my most down day, there is always one little thing I can do. Even on my lowest energy day, my saddest or maddest day, I'm finding that if I can reach out to one person with comfort or encouragement, it helps my mood as well. It gets me through one more day. And some days the only person I can reach out to is myself, with a treat or a nap. Some days all I can do is make it through the day. It's important to remember there are days when just surviving is victory, and that's okay. So here is my question for you. And Dennis is going to put it into the chat. What one little thing do you do that helps you or others or the world survive and thrive? And if you'd like to share, I invite you to raise your hand, and Dennis will call on you. We'll have a time of sharing now.
I'm calling on Linda first.
So what I find my ritual of sharing is to walk in the yard every day, at least in the morning, if not morning and afternoon, and take pictures of the beautiful things I see and share them. That's my daily gift, and I hope people enjoy them. That's it.
We do.
I'm not seeing other raised hands. Oh, Olga, followed by Lindy.
So, well, I have the best job for these times, I think. Job of making music and teaching music. That's what keeps me sane. I teach, I make music, I listen to music, so that I think, my gosh, how lucky I am to have this job. Thank you.
Lindy, followed by Alan. Lindy, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Did I unmute myself?
You did.
Okay. I try to be helpful every day to somebody. I know like we're in quarantine, but like my parents, like taking care of other kids, and that stopped in March, but my parents know that if any of my kids need to talk to somebody besides their parents, they text me and say, can we Zoom with you? And it's been working to my surprise. Thank you.
And helping.
I get parents randomly calling me going, please Zoom with my kid. Thank you.
And now Alan.
Hi all. So I'd say something that I do that helps me and sort of ripples out from there is that Sherry and I have lunch and dinner together virtually every day, and particularly at dinner time we've developed a routine of just talking about what we are grateful for. And in this time of the pandemic, the first thing we're grateful for is one more day together. But we also talk about friends that may be going through tough times, friends and family, or friends and family that are something good has happened about. It's just our way of kind of reinforcing to each other that we have all these connections that we very much appreciate.
Thank you, Alan. Calling on Jeff.
Yeah, sure. So for me, it's also music. Playing music, listening to music, and also sometimes just walking outside. Seeing the sunshine and nature. Kind of that helps a lot.
Thank you. Calling on Sarah, followed by Ben.
I guess for myself, I'm trying to remember to get outside and exercise and also read silly novels to take my mind off of things. And then for the world, I actually gonna brag a little bit because I'm trying to listen to my son who's further along this journey of addressing white privilege than I am. And he's pushing me on that, and that's good. And also really trying to figure out how to get back to my New Year's resolution of doing something every week to try to make sure that in November we have a change in government, and getting my college roommates inspired through a mutual classmate who's a big swing left person to try to do some work there. I haven't started it yet, but we're at least all talking about it, so that's good.
Thank you. Calling on Ben. I did see your hand up, right? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I go out and play football with my son most every day, and the exercise is good for both of us.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Right. Thank you all for this lovely sharing. And if you think of something else, please feel free to continue the conversation during coffee hour. And so now I lift up this prayer. Grant me the bravery to step forward and offer whatever I have. Grant me the wisdom to see myself as part of something greater, and grant me the compassion to see and draw out the gifts that are found in every person. May we listen to the song of our hearts today and every day. May we listen. Olga will extinguish the chalice.
Let us bless and keep one another by John C. Morgan. Let us bless and keep one another. Let kindness rule in our hearts and compassion in our lives until we meet again.
I need you. You need me. Sing. We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me. Agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. It is His will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. I need you, you need me. We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. It is His will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. Listen, I pray for you, you pray for me. I love you, I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you, I need you to. Let's sing together. I pray, you pray for me. I love you, I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth.